Well, thank you so much, Travis, for meeting with us at Giving Group Realty to talk a little bit more about what you do at your nonprofit of Child's Play.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, and thanks for the support.
You betcha. So one of our clients, Mr. Schofield, donated to you. He's a big gamer, and he really loved what you guys did with hospitals and being able to, I believe part of what you do is gaming systems in hospitals for children. So that they have something to do while they're there?
Yeah, that is sort of where Child's Play got started. We're going into our 20th year now, and Child's Play supports nearly 200 children's hospitals all across the world. And we work to get games and technology into the hospital, and then also teach them how to use games beyond just kind of a distraction like you might with the TV, where you turn the TV on and leave the kid, or turn a game on and leave the kid, but how to help integrate that so that they're doing some of the therapy and some procedures with games to help keep kids engaged and more excited about stuff that they're doing. And as we've expanded out from just sending things, when Child's Play started, really the first 13 years or so, we really just were giving stuff. Making sure that hospitals had access to games and game consoles and new games and iPads and, kind of new tech as they came out. But what we noticed in around 2016 was that stuff wasn't the limiting factor anymore. Really understanding how to use it beyond just the distraction level really became what was kind of the next step that we felt we would allow us to be the best partner to hospitals. So teaching them that side of how to engage games. So we have a couple things. We've created a therapeutic game guide. You can find it on gametherapy.org if you want to look into it more, but it just helps teach staff how to use games to help address pain or anxiety, cognitive impairment, things like that. So if you're not someone who normally plays games and don't necessarily know what are the key components that I might look for, that guide helps break that down. And then we've also started funding now positions inside the hospitals that are pediatric gaming and technology specialists. And their role is to be there. Yeah, their role is to be there alongside the child life staff and help keep all of the games up to date, sit down and play games with the kids, explore the use of new technology like virtual reality and augmented reality, and how could we bring that in. We've seen some really neat things happen in some of the hospitals that we support. One of the ones that we're really excited about, Children's Colorado, is one that first reported this to it, but we've seen this in some other hospitals now, of them being able to use things like a VR system during a spinal lumbar puncture, where you're injecting medicine into the spine, which is painful, but bearable. And often adults can kind of get through this, just kind of, okay, here we go, we'll numb you locally and go. But it's pretty stressful for kids, and often they'll have to be sedated, which can take this process that is really quick, generally speaking, and turn it into kind of a whole day ordeal. You need to fast for 8 hours before you can be sedated, and then you're sedated, and then the quick 10-minute procedure is done, and then you've got to be watched as you come out of sedation over the course of the next bunch of hours. And being able to have a kid to be in something like a VR game and be just distracted to that point of saying, okay, I'm in here, I'm doing this, and this 10-minute procedure can become a 10-minute procedure again.
Oh, that is fantastic.
So we've seen them do some really cool things with those, integrate 3D printers into the hospital. So really taking and trying to push forward the use of games and tech inside to improve the lives of the kids that are in those hospitals.
Oh, I had no idea that. That's one of the best things I love about this part of my business at Giving Group, is learning what these nonprofits and what you're doing and how you're making a difference in people's lives. And it was something I knew nothing about prior to Sam saying, this is who I want to donate my $800 to, right?
Yeah.
And that comes from a donation from our commissions. And it's really fulfilling for me to do that. And the hard work that you guys are doing and all the legwork that you're doing is, thank you. That is amazing. Really cool. And I was really impressed too to see that I think it was like 90% 90 to 93% of the money that you get actually goes right back into the
it goes right back into our program. We work really hard to try and make sure that what we're doing is getting that money, back to kids. We've got staff members. I've still got people we got to pay and, let everybody eat and pay their rent and all those kinds of things. But we really focus on making sure that what we're doing is putting that impact right back into the hospital.
That's awesome. So that must give you that, what is that, 5-star or the gold?
We're a platinum on GuideStar.
That is awesome. And who would you say are your biggest supporters in what you do? Do you have any big corporate supporters or?
We work closely with a lot of the gaming companies, so Microsoft and Sony and Amazon Games and Twitch and all of those, sort of lots of people in those spaces. And then lots of community support also want to support a charity that feels like it supports their hobby and reflects sort of the good that they feel they get out of gaming. And have an opportunity to give back.
And as far as monies that come in, what would you say an average donation would be, except for the big corporation?
I think, let's see, it's been a little while since we did this, but I think we sort of average on around the $20 donation from an individual when they're looking at things. So we have lots of people who do events that do sort of streaming, play games and donate money while I play games to Child's Play or things like that.
Okay.
So we get lots of donations that come in there as kind of bigger or smaller chunks, but kind of average out to around $20.
Gotcha. Another wing that we do at Giving Group beyond our donation per home that we sell based on just our clientele is charitable gifts of real estate. So sometimes people will be really into what a nonprofit is doing and they want to donate, say, their house or their estate or their stocks or something like that when they pass on. And so we have the average in America is $550,000 from a sale of real estate that can be really an amazing blessing to nonprofits like ours. So what would you guys do with a large house donation like that?
A donation like that. So we our game tech program, we roughly budget when we plan our budgets for our grants in the year about $100,000 a year for a person inside the hospital. It covers their salary and their benefits, and we support them for a two-year time period to get them enough time to begin, establish, show that impact that they're having, and then have hospitals pick that into an operational piece. But that's our rough number, just because it lets us find, we are granting, we actually have an application in from Sydney, Australia this year to do one in Australia. But granting these game tech positions all across the country. So it varies, depending on how big a city or things like that. But that's kind of our rough estimate. So a donation of that size would cover 5 game techs for a year, which would be amazing.
That is awesome.
That is probably we do about 6 a year. When we do it, what we found so far, at least with the size of our team at the moment, is with the 2-year cycle of the grant, we can support about 12 game tech hospitals, kind of 6 new ones and 6 that are into year 2. And then
rotated through.
Those new ones cycle in a year 2 and the new ones come in. And so we've worked really hard. We're in the process of building this career from kind of the ground up with nothing. So we really want to make sure that we're supporting them beyond just putting the funds out there and saying, hey, good luck. I hope this works out. So we've had a couple symposiums that we've put together now with game techs and some partner hospitals to come in and let them present the work that they're doing and share and get continuing ed credits through it. Some Slack channels and meetings and things like that. So they have the opportunity, because very often they're the only person doing this in their hospital and potentially the only person doing it in their state. So it's not like they get to turn to someone else and say, here's this problem I'm having. How are you doing it with the person down the hall? It's who else is doing this? Oh, well, here's this community of support that Child's Play has put together.
Oh, so you're really trailblazing a whole new opportunity within the hospitals to serve the children that are in there. I'm kind of speechless about that, honestly. That's
it's a pretty
amazing.
exciting time. Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and it is. it's something that really is missing inside the hospital, that, the training for the doctors and the nurses and the child life staff just aren't focusing on the integration of technology. Understandably, the jobs that they're doing are already big enough. And if you add on top of that, let's experiment with games and experiment with 3D printers and video audio recording and all those other kinds of things. It can become pretty unbearable, which is why we see lots of applications for these positions. We have 26 applications this year in for our grant cycle. And like I said, we'll be able to fund 5 or 6 of those.
Okay.
So the need is great, and we'll keep working on it. We'll keep plugging away. So far, we've had a really good return on them. We've landed with 100% of them rolling into operational or foundation funded. Some of them have found other donors to then fund these positions once they're in place, but have had so far all of them be able to continue on after Child's Play seed money has been spent.
That's awesome. And how many do you have going then right now? Or have you funded in?
As of right now, we're at 38. So, and then we've been able to find inside some other hospitals that either have applied from the grant from us and then not received it that year, seen them go forward and find funding for this elsewhere, or just other hospitals that have someone doing this role that when we get together with this hospital and we meet them and we go, oh, you're doing this? Let us introduce you to these, other people. So there's a little over 50 that we found now across the U.S. and a couple in Canada. We have one that we funded in Kenya. Like I said, we have the application for Australia in there. So we're branching these out as we go.
That is fantastic. And the connections and things that you're making with those, hospitals. So I'm in the Portland market. Is Dornbeckers? That's our big one.
Dornbecker is, yeah.
Awesome.
Dornbecker is through their grant cycle with us and on to funding their game tech on their own now.
That's awesome. And then are you there as support to them after the fact, or is it really about the placement?
We want to be, so we still do for all of our partner hospitals annual gifts that support them. So Dornbecker is also a network hospital for us, so we do an annual gift to Dornbecker as well. And then just really try to be a hub of connection about knowledge on how games and technology are being used in hospitals. So we have our game techs that are doing really cool things, and then we have other hospitals that can reach out to us and say, someone just dropped off a 3D printer. What do we do with this? Who do we ask? It's, if you ask the IT department in the hospital, they'll go, this is not the servers, this is not the network, this is not medical records, we're not touching that. Doctors and nurses aren't there. It'll land in Child Life's lap, and they'll kind of be like, I don't know what to do with this. And so we can connect them with hospitals that are using them, share. We have some really neat files that we've seen people create. Some of our game techs create things like a model medical port. So a port is inserted underneath your skin and connected in so that when you need constant injection of drugs, instead of always having to find a vein in your arm or your hand or wherever, the port is the spot that they can continually go back to. And we had a game tech design and 3D print a 1-to-1 scale model of a port after a patient was I think it was 16 or 17-year-old young man who was saying, you can't put this in me until I can see it. But ports are tens of thousands of dollars. They're very expensive. So you can't have one just to show off. And so he was able to model it as a 3D printed item, print off 10 or 15 of them for, nickels a piece, give the kid one so that he could see it, but also give him a handful that he could then, when he went to school, he could show his friends, hey, this is what I've got. Here, Mom, this is what's going on. So we've, been able to share that file with lots of other hospitals who are cranking those out now so that when kids need it, they go, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what it looks like. This is it. So
makes it less scary, right? And then they have their badge of honor to go to school with and say, this is this cool thing
this
I
is
have.
What I've got. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. What you were talking about when the printers get donated and the hospitals that aren't prepared for it are like, oh, great, thank you. That's what we find nonprofits, how they feel for the most part about when people say, hey, I have a house I want to donate. And they're like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, but I'm
What does
not a
that mean?
realtor. I'm not a title company. I don't, gosh, this house needs a new roof and it's like needs some paint, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where we come in on that side of it and take care of all of that piece. So I kind of get what you're saying about that. That's
Yeah. When you
awesome.
sort of something shows up that you're not ready for, it's really nice to have someone to turn to and go, help. How do I do this right? I don't want this to be used, I don't want it to just sit. I don't want to use it wrong. I don't want to do something with it. So yeah, we try really hard to be that resource for them. Even just, if a kid comes in and asks for a game and says, hey, I really want to play this. And they go, we don't have it. We don't know if we should have it. Is this okay to play in a hospital? It's,
Yeah.
Who can we ask? Hey, let's email Child's Play really quick and see, is this okay? Can you tell us a little bit about this game? What do we need to know if we do let a child play it?
And you're vetting all of those as well, knowing what's appropriate.
I would say less vetting. We just, as gamers, sort of have knowledge in the space, so we kind of can go like, oh, hey, yeah, they're asking about this game. These are kind of the stuff inside of it you might want to know about before you just hand it over. And then sometimes when it works out just right, we've got that game sitting on a shelf because some game company has already donated it to us, and we're able to just go, it's in the mail. Don't worry, they'll get it in a second.
That's awesome. So other than, financial support on that, how else can Giving Group Realty support you?
Well, now I know who to turn to if someone ever offers us a house, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, things like this to sort of spread the word about Child's Play is one of the best things that we can do, or that you guys can do for us, because this lets people who might not know about who Child's Play is and what we're doing see it from a different side and go, oh, I didn't know this existed, or here's this thing, or I hadn't thought that games could be used this way. But now that we've heard this pitch, it sounds great. Let's look into support.